30 years. 30 damn years. That is how long I walked around this earth feeling completely, utterly lost. I felt lonely in a crowded room. I felt depressed even when my bank account was completely full, when my house was the biggest on the block, and when my life looked perfect from the outside. My name is Sarah. I'm 45 years old, and for the majority of my adult life I was fighting a war that didn't actually exist. If you are watching this right now and you feel like you are just constantly exhausted, if you feel like your mind is your own worst enemy, I need you to pull up a chair. I need you to just give me your time, because what I'm about to tell you is something my 105-year-old grandmother left for me in a simple yellowed note. It was her final gift, a truth that took her a century to master, and it's a truth that I ignored until it almost destroyed everything I loved. I am giving it to you now so you don't have to look in the mirror decades from now and realize you wasted your life fighting ghosts. For the longest time I thought success was a shield. I thought if I worked harder, if I earned more, if I climbed higher, I would finally feel safe. By my late 30s I had reached the top. I was a high-level executive, a vice president with a corner office and a nameplate that felt like a trophy. But do you know how I actually walked through the world? I walked around angry. I was constantly on edge, waiting for the next attack. I saw enemies everywhere. If a colleague didn't look me in the eye during a meeting, I assumed they were plotting to replace me. If my husband Mark seemed a little distant after a long day, I didn't see a tired man. I saw a man who didn't respect me. I was a victim in a designer suit, carrying a heavy burden of resentment that I didn't even know was there. Then my grandmother Eleanor passed away. She was 105 years old. She had seen the world change in ways we can barely imagine. She had outlived her husband, most of her friends, and even some of her own children. Yet, in those final years, she had this peace about her that was almost frustrating to me. How could she be so calm when the world was so chaotic? After the funeral, while I was clearing out her old mahogany desk, I found it. A small ivory envelope tucked away in a secret compartment. On the front it simply said, "For Sarah." Inside was a letter that started with a sentence that stopped my heart. It said, "Sarah, you are tired because you are carrying a weight that doesn't belong to you. You are reacting to your life today using the survival skills of a little girl who was once afraid. Stop carrying the gunpowder of your past into your present." I sat there in her quiet room and I cried. I cried because she was right. For 30 years I had been walking around with a massive amount of emotional gunpowder packed inside my chest. Every rejection I felt in grade school, every time I felt ignored by my parents, every moment I felt not enough. I didn't process it. I just stored it. I packed it in tight like an explosive device waiting for a reason to go off. My grandmother's note explained a concept I had never considered. She wrote that a trigger, that thing that makes you snap, that makes you yell, that makes you cry, is just a tiny little mechanism. On its own, a trigger is harmless. It's just a click. But when that trigger is attached to a heart full of gunpowder, even the smallest spark causes a devastating explosion. I realized that for years I had been blaming everyone else for the explosions. When my daughter spilled her juice on the white rug and I lost my mind, screaming as if she had committed a crime, I blamed her. I told her, "Look what you made me do. If you weren't so careless, I wouldn't have to yell." But she didn't make me do anything. She just provided a tiny spark. I was the one who provided the gunpowder. I was the one walking around ready to blow up. I started to look back at my marriage. Mark was a good man, but he couldn't live with a bomb. Every time he tried to bring up a concern, he accidentally pulled a trigger and I would explode. I would bring up things from 5 years ago. I would attack his character. I would defend myself as if I were in a courtroom fighting for my life. Why? Because the little girl inside me was still terrified of being told she was wrong. My grandmother wrote, "Sarah, when you fight with your husband, you aren't a 40-year-old woman. You are a 7-year-old trying to prove she deserves to exist. This realization was like a mirror I couldn't look away from. I began to see how this gunpowder affected my children. I thought I was a great mother because they had everything. Private schools, vacations, the best toys. But children don't care about your bank account. They are sponges for your nervous system. If you are vibrating with stress and suppressed anger, they feel it. They don't have the vocabulary to understand that Mom is stressed about the quarterly reports. Instead, they internalize it. They think, Mom is unhappy and it must be my fault. I must not be good enough to make her smile. I was passing my trauma right down to them, wrapping it in an expensive bow of material success. The note continued, the greatest gift you can give your children isn't a trust fund. It is a parent who has done the work to be happy. If you don't heal your wounds, Sarah, your children will spend their entire lives bleeding from them. I spent months after that reading her words over and over. I started to pay attention to the voice in my head. You know, the one. The inner critic. The one that tells you you're a fraud, that everyone is eventually going to find out you don't know what you're doing. The voice that tells you you're a failure as a mother if you take 5 minutes for yourself. I used to think that voice was my edge. I thought that being hard on myself was what made me successful. But it wasn't. It was just a survival mechanism. It was the gunpowder speaking. I had to learn how to talk back to that voice. My grandmother's advice was simple. When that voice starts screaming, don't fight it. Just acknowledge it. Say, I see you. I know you're scared. I know you're trying to protect me from being hurt like we were hurt before. But I am an adult now. I am safe. I am in control. You can go to sleep now. Sounds so simple, but it is the hardest work I have ever done. It means taking responsibility. It means when someone cuts me off in traffic, I have to pause and realize that the anger I feel isn't about the car. It's about my need to feel significant. It means when a coworker critiques my work, I have to breathe and realize that my worth isn't tied to a spreadsheet. I look at my life now, 5 years after finding that note, and everything has changed. I'm still an executive, but I don't lead with fear anymore. I lead with presence. My relationship with my children has transformed because I am finally home when I am with them. I'm not staring at a screen while my mind replays old arguments. I am there in the moment without the gunpowder. My grandmother lived to be 105 because she refused to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. She understood that life is too short to spend it in a defensive crouch. She knew that the world isn't out to get you. The world is just the world. It's full of people carrying their own gunpowder, looking for someone to blame for their own sparks. I want you to imagine what your life would look like if you weren't so easily set off. Imagine the energy you would have if you weren't constantly scanning for threats. Imagine the love you could give if you weren't so busy defending your ego. Everything you are looking for, the safety, the validation, the peace, it is an inside job. It is already yours. You don't have to earn it, and no one can take it away from you unless you let them pull your trigger. Don't wait until you're 70 or 80 or 105 to realize this. Don't waste another year fighting ghosts from your past. Unpack your explosives. Forgive yourself for the times you blew up. And then choose to be the person who brings the water, not the gunpowder, to the room. Take a deep breath. You are safe. You are enough. And it is never too late to start living the life you were actually meant to have. Thank you for listening. Please, for your sake and for the sake of those who love you, do the work. Heal. Be happy. You deserve it.